Imagine America at the turn of the century. The electric light was still newfangled. The automobile was scarcely off the drawing board. And the phonograph was too crude as yet to be taken seriously. People were starved for entertainment, and inventors searched for ways to bring instant, live music into the home. One such inventor at this time was Melville Clark. Born in Rome, New York, in the middle of the last century, Clark had already developed several types of role-playing instruments in the 1890s. But the big breakthrough came in 1901, when Clark revolutionized the industry with his perfected Apollo player piano. Suddenly, silence was no longer golden. Thousands of American parlors echoed the strains of live piano music as families discovered the pleasures of a home with a player. To provide his customers with the finest piano rolls, Melville Clark had founded the QRS company in 1900, and we've been making rolls ever since. Why Mr. Clark named the company QRS is unknown. Some historians say it stands for Quality Roll Service. And there are old QRS advertisements in existence that use the slogan Quality and Real Service. It has also been suggested that Mr. Clark chose to name the company after the three towns in which he spent his early years: Quincy, Illinois, Rome, and Syracuse, New York. The most logical story seems to be this one, which appeared in an old trade journal.
Many have wondered how the name of the QRS Music Company came into being. This was more or less of an accident, we learn. When the Melville Clark roll business was formed, there was little suspicion as to the growth it would attain. The orders for rolls of the Melville Clark player were originally placed in the Q box in a cabinet where orders were filed. Then as these orders grew larger, some of them had to be placed in the R pigeonhole and later in the S pigeonhole. So the roll orders came to be known as QRS orders, hence the name of the company. From little acorns, great oaks grow.
Whatever the real origin of the QRS name, millions of people all over the world came to know it in the 1920s as the first name in home entertainment. Sales boomed with the introduction of the first QRS word roll, Pretty Baby, with the lyrics printed right on the roll. Colorful QRS advertisements adorned all the finest national magazines. Monthly bulletins reported all the new hits available, and QRS roll sales climbed to over 10 million for 1926. The leaders at QRS in the 20s, Thomas Pletcher, Lee Roberts, and Max Kortlander, continually expanded the possibilities of player rolls to include such items as story rolls and Mother Goose rolls for children, and rolls with lyrics in over a dozen different languages for foreign-born Americans. At the height of this expansion, the player industry received a terrible blow. Radio, coupled with the improved phonograph and talking pictures, cut deeply into the sale of player rolls. So ever-resourceful QRS merged with the DeVry Corporation to become QRS DeVry, manufacturers of player rolls and radio tubes, speakers, phonographs, records, cameras, movie cameras and projectors, neon signs, and even the little toy play-a-sax, today a prized collector's item. But the depression heralded by the stock market crash of 1929 was too much for QRS DeVry. By 1931, the corporation filed for bankruptcy, and the player roll division was sold to Max Kortlander, who had been with QRS since before World War I. Mr. Kortlander's big hit of 1919, Tell Me, had earned him a sizable fortune, and without this and his devotion to the player roll industry, QRS would have perished. But Mr. Kortlander continued to manufacture rolls under the QRS label and for a time the Imperial label as well, until his death in 1961. Most of these rolls were played by the legendary QRS arranger J. Lawrence Cook, whose longevity as a roll artist will probably never be challenged. Between 1921 and 1961, Mr. Cook arranged over 20,000 different titles. Since moving to Buffalo under new ownership in 1966, QRS sales have doubled to nearly 1 million rolls a year. Regular bulletins once again announce the most recent hits available, and new innovations continue to expand the fun and enrichment that are the natural results of owning a player. Reissue programs make available rare old rolls from the past, including original ragtime performances by Scott Joplin. The QRS Celebrity Series brings the playing of great stage personalities into your home. And the wonderful new QRS Educator set turns your player piano into a teaching machine, making piano lessons simple, inexpensive, and entertaining. In addition, the QRS Arts Foundation presents a yearly recital series in Buffalo, featuring top-ranked musicians from around the world. This is indeed a new age for the player piano. People began to rediscover the joys of family music in the 50s, and the player was called back into action. Today, 4 companies produce over 10,000 new players yearly, and a 5th company even markets a player organ. The Automatic Musical Instrument Collectors Association, or AMICA for short, is a club dedicated to preserving and promoting players and related musical devices, and membership has grown to include chapters in many major cities here and in Europe. QRS is presently the only mass producer of piano rolls in the country, and tourists come from far and wide to see just how we get all that music into those little holes. The arranger is the person who actually cuts the master roll using the QRS recording piano. By pressing the keys and holding them, and pressing a special foot pedal, the entire selection is painstakingly recorded in a series of perforations resembling the finished piano roll. This single process can take up to 8 hours for a 3-minute song and demands patience and concentration. Celebrity Series rolls are recorded differently using the original Melville Clark marking piano. Developed in 1905, it is the oldest machine at QRS still in regular use. It works this way. The artist sits down at the piano and simply plays as he would on a normal piano. Tiny metal rods, pneumatically linked to the keyboard, produce carbon marks on a moving sheet of blank piano roll paper. This results in an exact graph of the playing of the artist. The carbon marks are meticulously cut out by hand, then copied mechanically to produce the master. Whether cut by a QRS staff artist or a visiting celebrity, each master roll is edited by a QRS technician who uses special rulers and gauges to make sure that all the notes are properly placed. Tape and razor-sharp knives are used to make any necessary corrections. The corrected master is then copied on the master machine and given to a perforator operator who runs off a trial roll for the arranger to listen to on the player piano. The trial is played, any last-minute corrections are made, and the master roll goes into production to become a new QRS release. The rolls are stamped with the title, number, tempo, and artist's autograph. Then they are trimmed and tabbed, all by hand. Meanwhile, a stencil cutter has been busily measuring and marking the trial roll to determine just where the lyrics should be printed in order to line them up with the music. The stencil is cut in a cloth strip, 1 letter at a time, and the finished rolls are zipped through the stencil machines in the twinkling of an eye. QRS rolls are then spooled on sturdy cardboard cores and rubber banded, then boxed and labeled, and off they go to the stockroom, ready to roll out the good times in homes all over the world. We hope you enjoy your tour of our factory. Before leaving the reception area, please sign our guest register and indicate if you wish your name added to our new release mailing list. The register is located in the display rack, featuring QRS catalogs, bulletins, and AMICA membership applications for your convenience. At the end of your tour, you are welcome to purchase rolls, postcards, and other items if you so desire. Just follow the instructions of your tour guide. Thank you for coming, and remember, QRS player rolls are better.